We'll play with microcosmic orbit meditation or the small heavenly orbit. But to get into it, we're going to play a little bit with movements of the body that might help invite in some kinesthetic, I don't know, crutches, or maybe that's the wrong word for it, but kinesthetic supports for the experiences that one might have when doing the meditation. So in microcosmic orbit meditation, at some level of description, what you're doing is you're inviting chi or energy or light or something to move in the body. And it moves up the back line of the body, like along the spine, up over the top of the head, down the front line of the body, down between the legs and back up. It circles around or cycles around like that. And some people will think of it as like there's this really chi moving in the body, that it can be opened up the orbit and you can get it to start happening. I've heard people describe it as if like there's this movement that's happening there anyway, and you learn to experience it. You certainly might think of it as this is just using the imagination or visualization to bring focus to certain things in the body, although also some people will certainly resist thinking of it that way. However you think about it, for right now, that's not crucial, not for me. So to start with, take a stand, if you're near me, your left foot, about 45-degree angle, and step out kind of forward and over to the side with your right. You're going to sink the hips. We're going to do a little bit of what's called silk reeling, a version of it from one of the Hunyuan Qigong practices. So sink the hips down, and just to start having the hands on the hips, you're going to shift the weight back. So maybe 60% of the weight is in the back leg. If you're married, that's your left leg. And keeping the hips about level, you're going to shift forward. So about 60% of the weight's on the front leg. So you're going to shift back and shift forward. And as you shift back, you're going to turn your pelvis kind of that way, kind of out maybe 45 degrees toward the direction that the left leg is pointing. And as you shift forward, you're going to turn the pelvis forward so that you're kind of aiming out sort of over that front knee. It doesn't have to be quite squared up over the front knee, but out that way. So you're moving this way and that, this way and that, and try to keep your back upright. It doesn't matter if you lean a little bit, but you're not trying here to lean forward and lean back. You're just going to turn forward and turn back. And so begin with your hands in loose fists by the inguinal crease or by the left hip, or what in Chinese is called the kwa. And then you're going to begin to shift. And as you do, your hands are going to come up to almost shoulder height, maybe shoulder height. You're going to begin to unwind. You're going to open the hands up as you stretch forward. And then imagine you're going to grasp the chi and you're going to pull back. So you're going to push forward, opening the hands, and then coil back into fists, palm up. So forward and pull back. And you can do this just like I'm doing here. If this is a little more intense in the legs, you can take a more narrow stance and you are more upright in the body, just moving the hands, grasping and reaching out, and then you grasp and you pull back. Or if you want to even more intense, you can take a longer, lower stance. You're reaching out, grasping the chi, and it's like you're pulling it back to the back hip. And then you're pushing it forward. And then you're pulling it back. And for here, let the rhythm of your breath be natural. You're not trying to bring it in phase with the movement of the body. That is, you're just letting the rhythm of the breath be whatever it wants to be. If it happens to come into movement with the body or in phase with the movements of the body, that's good. And if it stays kind of doing its own thing in terms of rhythm, that's good too. So that you're pushing forward as you grasp, and then you're pulling back to the back hip. You're pushing forward. You're pulling back. I'm doing this kind of quickly here. You could slow it down, but for here, I'd kind of like you to begin to feel the pattern of the movements. And there, kind of going a little bit fast, so you have a few more repetitions might be more helpful. So you're pulling back, and you're pushing forward. Let's switch sides. So now if you mirror me, plant your right foot about 45 degrees, step out with the left. Now your left foot's the front foot. Sink the hips, just get the practice of shifting and turning. Shifting forward, maybe 60% of the weight's in the front leg. Shifting back, maybe 60% of the weight's in the back leg. So forward, and then back, hands in loose fist, palm up near the quad, near the inguinal crease of the right leg. And you're going to coil out, push, and pull back. Coil out and grasp. As you push, you grasp and pull back. So I guess it's rather you're pushing forward, and then you're grasping the chi and pulling it back. You're pushing off the back heel, and then you come back, you're pushing off the front heel. So, okay, what does this have to do with moving chi around the body? And so one way you can play with it is you can time it. So as you come back, without thinking too much about this, just imagine that some energy starting at your perineum, at what's called the meeting point of yin, at the pelvic floor. And as you begin to curl and begin to push, just starting to push off this back leg, you imagine it's beginning to arc up the back, like along the line of the back, past the tailbone and the sacrum, up over the back, coming up over the top of the head as you open the hands. It begins to drift down the face. And then as you pull back, it comes down the front line of the body. Just imagine it's coming down past the heart and the solar plexus and the lower abdomen. And as you curve up, it begins to rise up the back, over the top of the head, and begins to cascade down the front. And so you might just imagine that. Or maybe you can begin to feel in some other way. Don't stress too much about it. So just imagine it's coming up the back, arcing up over top of the head. And then as you begin to push back off that front foot, you're pulling with the hands, you're pulling back, and then just drifting or kind of falling down the front line of the body. So up over the back, down the front, up over the back, down the front, over the back, down the front, over the back, down the front. Let's switch sides again. So plant your left foot, step forward the right, to come back. Just get the pattern. Push, pull back, push, pull back, push, pull back. Now, sort of bring your attention to the pelvic floor, the perineum, the meeting point of yin in Chinese acupuncture. And imagine as you begin to sort of turn the corner here and the hands begin to come up in the back, it's beginning to rise up past the tailbone and the sacrum, up through the mid-back, up the back of the head, over top of the head, begins to cascade down the forehead and the face. Your tongue is up to the roof of the mouth as you pull back. Just imagine it cascading on the front of the body. So you push, and as you pull back, it comes down the front line of the body. It turns the corner at the tailbone, coming up the back, over the top of the head, down the front line of the face and the chin and the heart. So up the back, down the front, up the back, down the front. And you can just imagine it for here. Just maybe it comes to you visually. Maybe you feel it. Or maybe it's just kind of like the abstract intention or thought. For now, just up the back, over the top of the head, down the front, below the pelvic floor, up the back, top of the head, down the front. We'll do two more. Push and pull back, push, and pull back. Now, as we're doing this, keep the pattern of the hands going. Push and pull back, but begin to push a little bit more straight out toward the screen. And you shift it back as you pull in. So your push, pull back. So the angle is going forward and back now. Push high, pull back. So it comes up the back, over the top of the head, reach, and down the front. Up, over the top of the head, pull back. So you're pushing and then pulling down and back. And maybe bring that foot back. So now you're just saying push, let the hands drift down. No fist now. You're going to lift, push forward, and down. So imagine, even though the hands are in front of the body, just imagine Something drifting up the tailbone, up the mid-back, up over the top of the head. You're going to push, let it sink down the front. So just short time, just going like this. I'm circling the hands out, pulling the back. It might be I'm pushing from the heels, and then maybe even shifting the weight back, like imagine it coming up the back, pulling up, over top of the head, and drifting down. So push, pull down, push, drift down. So curling up the back, over the top of the head, coming down, using the hands just to kind of remind you where the movement's going. All right, now this might get a little fancy. Don't stress about it. You're going to step your left foot out. You're going to push, pull back into fists. So you're pushing, pulling back into fists. Back to this kind of grasping the chi, silk reeling. So you're going to push, you're going to pull back to the heel, to the qua, sorry. Push, push. Pull back. Now imagine the chi or energy or just a ball of light rising up the surface of the back of the body, past the tailbone and the sacrum, up the mid-back, the upper back, up over the top of the head, begins to drift down the front line of the face to the upper palate, and then you pull back and it comes down past the heart and the solar plexus and lower abdomen, the sexual center. So over the top of the head, down the front line of the body, up the back, over the top of the head. Just do a few more minutes. Now, again, pushing more forward, pulling back. So you can push and shift the hips forward, pull back, push, back, bring that foot back. You're just going to push down, coming up the body, open palms here, out, forward, and drift down. So it comes up the back, even though the hands are in front, over the top of the head, drift down. Maybe bring the hands on the side of the body. So now you're drifting or guiding it up the back. The hands are like behind the body. Bring it up over the top of the head, looking up. Let the hands drift down. So coming up the back, over the top of the head, just follow the hands. Drift down. Try breathing in as you imagine drawing it up the back. Breathe out, maybe even beginning to get on top of it, like you're pushing it down, just to exaggerate a little bit. So breathing in, so you're moving the hands outside the body and kind of watching it, but you're inviting the same thing to be happening just inside at the surface of the body. So breathing it up, breathing in, breathe out, send it down the front. You let the hips rise and fall, but as you do it, breathing in, guiding it up. Breathing it out, sending it down. Breathing it in, coming up. Breathing it out, going down. Just circle hands, breathing in. Drift down as you breathe out. Breathing in, imagine it's going up the back. Breathe out, down. So breathing in. So don't stress here. Maybe you can visualize like a ball of light or something else kind of moving around the body. Or maybe you feel it as you breathe in up over the top and down the front. Or maybe you're just circling the hands like some kind of weirdo. That's okay too. So a couple times breathing in at the back, over the top. seat, I got a stool here. You can sit on the floor, on a cushion, or on your bed, or you have a stool or a chair, and it feels comfortable for you to sit on that toward the edge of the chair, if it's a chair, or on a stool. Just the idea of being sitting somehow with the back upright, the back unsupported by a chair, and the feet, if they can be, flat on the floor or flat against the ground. If you're cross-legged on a mat or in some other position, just that works exactly well too. And here, just have the hands palm down on the knees or on the thighs. If there's some other hand position that you prefer, you can use that too instead. And so here, just taking a moment and closing the eyes. You can always keep the eyes open if you prefer. Closing the eyes might make it a little bit easier to visualize or focus both on visual imagery and also kinesthetic sensations. But eyes open is perfectly fine too, and if that's what feels best, to do that. And so here we're just going to sit for a few minutes. Begin by noticing the parts of your body touching closest to the earth. The parts of your body touching whatever thing you're sitting on here. A stool, a chair, cushion, bed. Something else entirely. Just begin to notice as you breathe in, the sensations of the body as you breathe in. As you breathe out, notice the sensations of the body as you breathe out. If it's comfortable for you right now to breathe in and out through the nose, and have the mouth closed and the tongue touching the roof of the mouth as if to close a circuit that runs down the front line of the face and then down through the tongue to the lower palate, to your chin and neck and down the front. You just breathe in and feel your abdomen expand as you breathe in. Breathe out and the abdomen release back to center. Following the pace of your own breath. If it's faster than what I'm guiding, go faster. If it's slower, go slower. So breathe in and let the abdomen expand, and maybe even invite or even just imagine the lower back expanding back and out too. And then breathe out, and the lower abdomen and the lower back very gently release back slightly toward the center. So breathing in and let the abdomen and lower back and the whole lower part of your torso begin to expand like a balloon. And as you breathe out, let it release back to center. Breathing in as you expand. Breathe out as you release. And to notice as you breathe in, just notice sensations in your lower back, pressing, expanding back as you breathe in. And as you breathe out, just notice sensations as your abdomen drifts backward to the spine. So you're breathing in and expanding the lower abdomen and the lower back, even just inviting it to expand outward, front and back. And you breathe out and it releases very gently back to center. Doesn't matter for us now what's actually like what it looks like from the outside, or how the movement of the parts of your body in time and space would actually be described by an observer. But just imagine this is what's happening and invite it to happen. However it goes, breathing in and it expands, and breathe out and it releases back to center. But as you breathe in, notice the movement of the back behind you as it expands back. And then as it and the abdomen release back to center, follow the sensations in particular of the abdomen as it pulls back in toward the spine. So on your in-breath, both the abdomen and the lower back are expanding forward and back. Follow sensations of the back as it goes back. Very gently, maybe just a few millimeters, maybe more. And as you breathe out, as everything returns back toward the center, follow the navel and the abdomen as it goes in. And then as you breathe in, imagine that you can follow in particular from the perineum to the tailbone, the sacrum, and the lower back as it expands back. And as you breathe out, just imagine from the upper part of the abdomen, there's movement drifting down as all of that pulls back in toward the spine. So beginning to layer on top of this imagined or otherwise experienced movement going up and back as you breathe in along past the sacrum and up the lower back. And as you breathe out down the front, imagine movement going down the front line of the abdomen as the abdomen returns back into center, following that with your attention. So at your own pace, breathing in and following a line of movement and sensation from the perineum up past the tailbone and sacrum and lower back, arcing up even further, maybe following it with the closed eyes. And as you breathe out at your own pace, just begin to follow sensation and experience down the front line of your body, at the surface of the body, as it pulls back in gently towards center. So breathing in, follow it, expanding up the back line of the body, following it with the closed eyes, watching, imagining it arcs over the top of the head, down the front line of the face, to the tongue, up to the upper palate. And then breathe out and just see it, imagine it drifting like movement down the heart, solar plexus, abdomen, down to the perineum. So breathing in, rolling it up the back as the back expands back. Over the top of the head, breathe out, roll it down the front. The navel, the whole front line of the body gently pulls back into center. Stay with that a few more times. Breathing in, follow sensation moving from the tailbone up the back, over the top of the head. Breathing out, see it drifting down from the lower palate and neck and heart and abdomen down to the perineum. So breathing in, following the sensation or the imagined sensation up the back. Breathe out, follow it down the front a few more times. Down front to the perineum. Just imagine that all of that somehow can form a ball of light in the lower abdomen. Looking down with the closed eyes, imagine you can see it in the space between your navel and the point on the spine directly opposite the navel. Just kind of resting there in the abdomen. Breathing in, and it stays very still in space, but it gently pulses or expands outward as the ball expands. Breathing out, and just watch it drift and return back toward its original state. 3 times breathing in as it expands. Letting out as it releases. As it closed, you can open the eyes and you can come out and practice. So that's one way to play with microcosmic orbit meditation. And if you want to continue on your own, it might be nice now, if you've got the time and energy, either to play with that circling of the hands, the grasping the chi movement again. Just kind of notice what there is to notice, right? Both sides. Or maybe it's best or feels better to feel restful. Or maybe just go about your day and pretend it never happened. All right. That's it for this session. Thank you.